Hello and welcome to another episode of Broadcast Gaming Talk. Now I know what you're thinking. This is another video where I'm going to say that this game is confusing and awful and everything I did in a previous video, but this time you would be wrong. Yes, I'm going to finally be giving my full thoughts on Total War Warhammer 2. Now yes, me getting through one campaign in this game went the way of me getting through the entirety of the previous game I talked about. Well, one of them, Warhammer 40k Battle Sector. Yep, I modded the campaign to make this game way easier, and I'm glad I did because I would have given up for a third time otherwise. But some of what those mods did to make things easier for me is actually some of the points that are going to be talked about in this video. Now, what I have come to determine since I've finally finished a full campaign is that the game isn't bad. It's really monotonous and boring, though. Now, the mods I was running made it so I didn't have to bother with technology research, but it is one thing because the tech tree is big. Of course, the one thing that I did have to put up is settlement management, which is so boring. It didn't help that I had a lot of captured settlements, but you have to go through each area, and each settlement has upgrades. The bigger the settlement, the more upgrades you can do. And I'll be honest, the mods I was running only made it so I had to do those upgrades myself, but they also made the settlements not required for me to upgrade because I wasn't required to do it because I didn't need the benefits from them, basically. I could just continue on and say, you know what, fuck these settlements. I'm not putting time into this. I know it'll probably shock people when I say that I did have fun going through the campaign map, taking settlements from my enemies, putting an end to my enemies as well. And I'm also glad that after all this time, I finally figured out the two ways you can win a campaign if you are playing the Eye of the Vortex campaign, which is something that for the longest time I could not figure out. I do, however, have to wonder, without mods, how people have fun playing this game with all that monotonous stuff I talked about earlier. Okay, now, this section, I added this after I did the Eye of the Vortex campaign, not only as the High Elves, which was my first playthrough, but also as the Lizardmen and the Dark Elves, and I am saying this because it allowed me to discover the final aspect of this game, and that's that it's really boring. Is there supposed to be a difference in how each of the factions play? Because I just don't feel it. The only difference I can find is in what things you collect to start the ritual for the Vortex, and that's about it. I think the problem in the factions all feeling like they play the same is because there's only two ways to win a campaign. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but one way you win is by dominating the campaign map, and the other way you win is by doing all 5 of the rituals, then doing the final battle. This is why out of the 3 different factions that I've played, they all feel like they played the same, because you can't win a campaign any way besides the 2 stated. Sure, you could say there's a difference in more obvious aspects, but I'm not counting that, because you can't rely on those aspects to make the experience more fun, in my opinion. Yeah, my first campaign was pretty fun, but that fun quickly went away once I played another 2 campaigns. I also don't have access to the Mortal Empires campaign because I don't own the first Total War Warhammer game, and that's something that I find is kind of stupid as well. Basically, the game got more boring over time, and so I stopped playing after my 3rd campaign. I did try to start a Skaven campaign, but I was so bored at that point, but that I just stopped. Total War Warhammer 2 is an average game that gets progressively more boring over time and doesn't have a good amount of replay value. That's all I have to say, so if you like what you're seeing here, feel free to subscribe. If you want to add to the conversation, leave a comment below. As always, thanks for listening, and goodbye.